First executive decision tonight is suspending the clock. So from now on, take as much time as you want to answer questions. Feel free to pose questions to each other. Let me start you off. What do we do about rising health care costs? The cost of doctors, the cost of hospitals, the cost of services, the cost of x-rays, the cost of everything. They appear to be going up 6, 7, 10, 15%, irrespective of economic condition. They seem to have a market of their own, but clearly it is a market. I have some suspicions as to why this occurs, but our audience wants to hear from you, and can we really solve the Medicare problem until we solve the health care cost problem?
Time, Mr. Speaker, is that okay? All right. We have the best health care in the world. We have a health care cost problem. You're absolutely right. In order to solve the health care cost problem, we must use market-driven, patient-centered approaches. I've talked to doctors. I'm sure Newt has talked to doctors. Market-centered, patient-centered, market-driven approaches. Here again, you cannot micromanage healthcare costs out of Washington, D.C. It is impossible. Every program that we have that's been administered out of Washington, D.C., and a bureaucrat tries to make a decision that's going to impact a patient or hospital or doctor, is failed. So what we have to do is unravel the system with market-driven ideas, such as those located in H.R. 3400. It might have been changed to H.R. 3000, Congressman, with the new Congress. Remember the one introduced by Representative Price from Georgia? A couple of years ago, it was H.R. 3400. Open up health savings accounts rather than restrict health savings accounts. Allow association health plans. When I ran the National Restaurant Association, today it has 14 million employees. We wanted to design a plan that we could customize to our workforce. We're not like a bank, the restaurant industry. We're not like, a manufacturing company. And our workforce is different. But you can't do that now based upon the current structure. The other thing that doctors would like to see, and I spoke to a group of doctors just a couple of days ago, loser pay laws. Whether they are passed at the state level or the federal level, losers pay, because that's what's driving up the cost of malpractice insurance. That's what's causing doctors to practice defensive medicine, and loser pay laws would be a big step toward overall tort reform.
Newt Gingrich, insurance problem or medical service provider cost increase problem?
Well, I think that the mess of the health system is an everything problem. It's a federal government problem, it's a state government problem, it's an insurance company problem, it's a hospital problem, it's a doctor problem, and it's a patient problem. I mean, all of us have a hand in making this thing a total mess. You can go back to the 1943 wage price decision that was rewarding workers to get around the wage price controls by allowing companies to offer employer insurance plans, which is entirely done as a gimmick in the middle of World War II. Nobody thought through the consequences of what happens when you have a third-party payment system. But as Herman just said, what happens is the person who's paying isn't getting anything, so they assume the person they're paying is cheating. The person who is receiving isn't paying for it, so they don't value it. And the person who is providing the service knows that the person they're providing the service to doesn't value it, and the person who's writing the check thinks they're a crook. So anytime you build a triangular system, and think about going to McDonald's. We have no national hearings on fraud at McDonald's. I mean, think about it. You show up, you say, I'd like a quarter pounder with cheese. They give you a quarter pounder with cheese. You give them money. They are happy. You are happy. If you open up your bag and there's no quarter pounder with cheese, you're unhappy. And you go back and say, where's my quarter pounder with cheese? There's a direct relationship. And this may sound silly. One of the reasons I was so excited, and I really do want to thank the Patriots PAC Tea Party and the whole effort that's going on here. And I appreciate, Steve, you're coming down from Iowa to be part of this. This is a chance for us to talk at a non-30-second, non-trivial way to reset You know, I was in Atlanta 2 days this week. I did say, if anybody had predicted a year ago that the two of the top three candidates in the polling would both be from Georgia, it would have seemed implausible. If they then used our two names, it would have seemed impossible. You could have made a lot of money betting on this. But here's the point. We both represent a willingness to talk about common sense without regard to whatever the national establishment thinks is acceptable. And that's radical. We are, by any reasonable standard, the two most radical candidates in this because we both are willing to say common sense, and in the city of Washington, common sense is such a radical idea that it doesn't count. Now, I'm just going to give you one quick example, and then I'm going to yield back to my good friend here. I helped balance the budget for 4 straight years. I'm the only speaker in history to do that, in your lifetime, in modern history. We did it at a time when people thought it was impossible. We did it by insisting on profound change. We reformed an entitlement, welfare, 2 out of 3 people went to work or went to school. We reformed Medicare, which people tend to forget, because we did it so carefully nobody fought over it. But we did it. We had AARP neutral in a presidential election year. Probably our most complicated experience. Here's what I learned. If you're serious about real health reform, abolish the Congressional Budget Office. It is a dishonest institution which routinely plans things the wrong way. And let me give you an example why. So you understand this is not just some abstract theory. We have a new book coming out from the Center for Health Transformation on end-of-life planning and families being involved and doctors being involved. The exact opposite of death penalties. Every hospital I know will tell you that if you get the family and the patient involved, it's better emotionally, it's better medicine, and in the long run, it's actually less expensive. The Congressional Budget Office only scores it as a cost because they refuse to accept any evidence of savings. So again and again, their answer is bigger government, higher taxes, more bureaucracy, and it makes it almost impossible to get the kind of reforms that we would bring in from the private sector.
Congressman King has a question.